Hey folks, so today we got to talk about old Robin Niceta. A couple weeks ago, after one of the most hilarious and pathetic and truly embarrassing attempts to avoid charges, Robin Niceta was finally sentenced to 4 years in prison for calling in the fake anonymous child abuse claim against Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky after Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky criticized Robin Niceta's police chief girlfriend on the Tubbs morning radio show. You really can't write this stuff. And then Robin Niceta tried to avoid those charges by claiming she had a brain tumor. Her attorneys filed this big bombshell motion. Your Honor, my client is not well. She has a brain tumor. They submitted medical records from a Dr. C. Marquez from an oncology clinic in New Mexico, and it looked like the whole trial was going to go a completely different direction. But then people that were following the news story figured out, hey, wait a second. The picture of the brain tumor that Robin Niceta submitted with her medical records is just the top image Google result if you Google the type of cancer that she's claiming to have. So then the whole thing fell apart. Robin Niceta and her mom were charged with a whole slew of new charges for faking cancer and creating the stupid oncology clinic in New Mexico with a fake website and Dr. C. Marquez and the whole thing. She got a whole slew of new charges for that. Her lawyers, the ones that submitted the big, Your Honor, she's not well, they all quit. She got new lawyers, and then the trial played out and she was convicted. Her sentencing was supposed to be in January. People that follow this channel will remember I did a whole video. I was so happy, like the week before the big sentencing in January. I was doing the swim. I was going ba-da-da-ba-da-da-da, Niceta, ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's sentencing, and it was a happy time. Remember, completely unrelated to this whole thing, she also has around 40 people suing her in a class action lawsuit for being a family destroyer, for being a social worker and trying to hook up with people that she's supposed to be trying to help. And when they don't want to hook up with her, what are you doing, Robin Niceta? Then she tried to get their kids taken away forever. So there's a lot of people that are waiting for this lady to get what she deserves for a long time. So the big sentencing was supposed to be in January, and her new lawyers called in sick. Okay, so they moved it from January, they rescheduled it to February 9th. On February 9th, her lawyer no-call, no-showed. And so picture this, the whole courtroom is packed with people finally waiting to see this thing end. The people that are reading their sentence impact statements are there with their statements ready to go. Everybody's waiting, and Robin Niceta is sitting at her table alone. 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by, and the judge makes an announcement. Hey everybody, Robin Niceta's lawyer didn't show up again. We have to reschedule the sentencing date again. And the courtroom erupted in scoffs and murmurs, and the judge goes, order, order, I'll clear the courtroom. Don't think I won't. So then it was rescheduled from February 9th to April 12th. So you gotta think, on April 12th, I was sitting there refreshing the news over and over again, trying to figure out what's the sentencing, what happened, what did she get? The whole afternoon, nothing. The next day, I'm doing the same thing, nothing. I go to YouTube, type in Robin Niceta, do a filter, what's the most recent video? It's my video. It's like, damn it. It's always kind of a funny feeling. And a whole month goes by. It's supposed to be April 12th. I'm already at May 12th, and the last update of any kind is still from February 9th. Then another couple weeks goes by, and it's May 23rd, and I'm sitting there going, what happened? This story just evaporated. What happened with the sentencing? And I was sitting there, how do I figure out what's going on? And I had an idea. Why don't I just email Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky, the victim in the case, and she probably won't respond or doesn't have time. This is a really big time for her. She is a victim of this crime. She had to go through a whole nightmare 2-week child abuse evaluation, just brutal, so bad that a civil judge awarded that Robin Niceta has to pay Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky $3 million for this whole thing. I'd love to know if Danielle Jurinsky sees any of that. That'd be interesting. But anyway, I thought I'm just going to email Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky and maybe she'll get back to me. So I found her .gov. All politicians have a public email. So I emailed her, hey, Danielle, I did a video about a year ago on YouTube titled The Embarrassing Downfall of Robin Niceta. It's gotten 50,000 views. I followed it very close this whole year. Sorry that you had to deal with Niceta's evil nonsense. But what happened with the sentencing? It was supposed to be April 12th. Here we are more than a month after that, and there's not one single news update from a local Aurora news outlet. There's nothing. The last thing is February 9th. And not only did Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky get back to me, but she was just so nice and really put in the time to keep me updated, said she's a fan, said she's loved the coverage of the show, and said, actually, the sentencing, so I emailed her on the May 23rd, and she said the sentencing is tomorrow. She helped me figure out how to watch it, and then the next day, the big sentencing day, so she's the victim of this whole thing, and it's the day that the person that drug her through this whole nightmare is getting sentenced, and she took the time to send me update emails all day. I couldn't appreciate it more. And so what happened is April 12th, so it's February 9th that the no call, no show, the order, clears courtroom, don't think I won't. And then April 12th, her lawyer didn't show up again. The judge opened an investigation into that lawyer because you can't no call, no show multiple times, play games, keep delaying the sentencing. And then she got a new lawyer. She went through 5 lawyers. She's got close to Sarah Boone level. So she got a new lawyer who had said, I'm not constitutionally ready to defend her at sentencing, and then that's why it was bumped all the way to May 24th. She was sentenced, like I said earlier, to 4 years. Who knows how many she'll really do, maybe 2 or 3, but that still should be enough to carry her through the conviction of the slew of charges for the faking the brain tumor. She's facing some serious stuff for that. So we're going to keep following it. And she was handcuffed and led away. I mean, this one truly is one for the book. So like I said, we're going to keep following it. Since that didn't take all that long, I do have a story for you guys today. I thought about this story. Oh, I should tell that story because the Karen Reed trial is cooking right now. And the fateful night in the Karen Reed trial, there was a blizzard. And blizzards always flip the script. That's why there's a lot of movies and books where just the main event that kicks everything off, it's just a blizzard. Come up with some interesting characters, introduce a blizzard, and there you go. You're off and running. I was trying to think of a couple. Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino's movie, that's what that is. Stephen King loves a blizzard. Shining, Misery. If you can think of more, put them in the comments. I like thinking about stuff like that. But anyway, this is my one intense blizzard story. I hope to never have any more. Okay, so this story takes place, I'm going to CSU college in Fort Collins, Colorado, and my parents they still live in Grand Junction, Colorado. To get from Grand Junction, Colorado to Fort Collins, Colorado, you have to drive over the Rocky Mountains. I-70, over Vail Pass, the whole thing. I looked it up yesterday. It's technically considered the 8th most treacherous stretch of road in the whole country, going off per deaths, per 100 miles, per year. And since it's at the top of a mountain when you're going over those passes, almost 11,000 feet of altitude, when there's a blizzard, I would say it's even higher on that list. And so the weather, I'm at my parents' house for a week for the holidays. And the weather in the mountains had just been horrible. Dumping snow, high winds, just brutal. And so I'm looking, I got to get back to get to work. I have a job. I had lived in Fort Collins for a while, so I have a life and my job. And I had to get back and get back to my job and the whole thing. And so we're looking, what's the best window to shoot through and get back? And it had been like terrible weather for a week, and it looked like there was going to be a 12-hour window and then really terrible weather for another 4 or 5 days. So it's like, okay, I got to try to get back in that little window. My dad and I went and I was driving a 2005 Dodge Dakota 4-wheel drive pickup truck, but pickup trucks aren't all that great on the snow if there's nothing back in the bed of the truck because it's really light. So we went and bought 500 pounds worth of sandbags to put in the back right over the rear axle, and I got up early and headed out into the mountains. It couldn't have gone worse. Immediately, pretty much in Glenwood Canyon, there was a terrible accident, and I sat dead stopped on the highway for probably an hour, and then was going maybe like 2 or 3 miles an hour for another hour. So this window that I had to beat the bad weather is ticking away. And then it starts to snow. Then it starts to snow hard. Then it starts to snow really hard, and the wind picks up, and the visibility that day got down to 7 feet, which is nothing when you're driving on the highway. Looking out my windshield, or really any of the windows, it just looked like a blank white screen. So I'm on the highway. I can't remember exactly how fast I was going. It seems like I was going 5 miles an hour, but maybe it was a little bit more. But going very slow. It's just the white abyss in front of me. I can faintly see the headlights of the person in front of me who's also just kind of going slow, and we're just white knuckle stress driving through this blizzard. And the reason it's so stressful is because you don't know if you're going to get hit from behind from someone driving crazy. The road after just an hour or two was totally snow-packed, so you can't see the lines. I don't know if I'm in the lane. I can't see any exits or anything to turn off. I'm just slowly plugging along in the white abyss, following the headlights when I can faintly see them in front of me. But if those headlights go off the road into the median, into the ditch, I'd be following them right behind them. And then I'm getting to a point, I'm getting so tired and so stressed out with the whole thing. I almost want that to happen just to get this over with. Just how long can I sit here and go 5 miles an hour in the blizzard? And then it starts to get dark, and it goes from the windshield looking like a blank white screen to looking like that submarine that imploded going down to the Titanic. It looked like looking out the window of that, just totally black with like the snow particles falling down. It's snowing about as hard as it can snow. I'm on the highway at 11,000 feet of altitude. There's hours and hours before I get to where I'm going. It's snowing so hard, I don't even know where exits are if I did want to try to take an exit. And it slowly, as it got dark, went from this sucks, God, this sucks, I hate that I had to put myself in this situation. It went from that to I really don't know what to do right now. I don't know what to do right now. Am I just gonna plug along at 5 miles an hour all night long? Is the storm gonna get better? I kept thinking to myself, just stay calm, keep going, keep getting through, and hopefully you get on the other side of the storm and it starts to get better. Just keep going. But it just kept getting worse, and I think the winds were up to 60 miles an hour, and it's just this little group of cars. I think the person in front of me was the first one, and then me, and then there was a few behind us, and it was just us slowly moving through the top of the mountain in a blizzard. And it's one of 3 times where I was driving where I was legitimately scared and just going, I don't know what to do right now. I really don't. And morale couldn't be lower. It's pitch black. I'm almost rooting to just end up in the ditch and just start figuring out that situation because I've just been going so long driving. I've always had kept a wool blanket and like some warm socks and long underwear and some extra warm clothes in the back of my vehicle, and it had been back there for years. I'd seen that wool blanket with everything wrapped up in it for years, all the time, moving it out of the way, and all of a sudden, in the pitch black blizzard at the top of the Rocky Mountains, all of a sudden I go, I can't believe I'm probably gonna have to get that wool blanket out. How crazy is that? And I'm thinking back at Cub Scouts when I was a kid, like building snow caves. Like, all right, if I end up on the side of the road, I can dig a snow cave, outdoor boys style, and probably not freeze to death. I got my wool blanket. Couldn't believe it was all of a sudden at that point. And I'm sitting there going, this is really bad. And then all of a sudden on my left, this massive truck with all of these lights honking its horn, bah, and it popped out of the abyss so just surprisingly. I screamed, I thought I was getting hit and killed by a semi truck. And this truck goes over and it's honking its horn, and then it disappears. And then all of a sudden I see the brake lights of the car in front of me, and I slam on my brakes and come to a skidding stop. Then I'm looking in the rearview mirror, please don't get rear-ended from behind from the person trying to stop. They're able to stop. And so now we're dead stopped on the highway at the top of the Rocky Mountains in a blizzard. It's not a good idea to stop in the middle of the highway, especially when the roads are thick or are as icy and slick as they were. It's only a matter of time before someone coming up way too fast is going to kill you. And so now I'm sitting there, dead stopped. I can't see the massive truck anymore. All I can see is the faint brake lights in front of me, and I'm just sitting there. And then all of a sudden this guy emerges out of the abyss. He's got this big coat on and a flashlight, and I roll down my window and he's all business. He's from the sheriff, and he goes, you're gonna follow this car in front of me, they're gonna follow me, we're gonna take an exit in less than a minute or two to the right, and we're gonna put you guys into a hotel. And I go, yeah, oh, great. And he goes, I'm gonna tell the few cars that are behind you, and then we gotta go. And he's all business, because think about this guy is out standing on the highway in a blizzard, no visibility, totally slick roads, definitely putting his life on the line for us. And the big truck was the blizzard rescue vehicle. In the high country, the sheriff's department, they have these blizzard rescue vehicles. 6-wheel drive, huge, capable of handling anything. And so he gets in front then, he tells everybody real quick, risking his life, gets back in, because most of the time those blizzard rescue vehicles they have spaces to carry people in there that have driven off the road. You're stuck in a snowbank, and then you can get in that truck and they'll drive you to safety. But with this situation, there was like 12 or 15 cars still on the road. We hadn't gone off into the ditch yet, and so I think they were in kind of a hard situation of like, well, this is not ideal to try to like have all these cars follow each other. It'd be easier just to say, get in the big truck, let's go. But they made it happen, and we slowly followed him, and he knew where the exit was. It was just looking at black nothingness as we drove. I could just faintly see the lights. We take the exit. They put us up in a hotel. I was just so glad not to be stressed out. I was so glad to be safe, and I got like settled in the motel, then bundled up and went out and just sat on the tailgate of my truck, just at the, way up in the mountains with it snowing like crazy. And I get the same feeling when I'm up in the mountains or when I'm in the ocean, or even just in the woods, deep, deep in the woods. I get this feeling that my death, the mountains and the ocean, does not consider my death to be a negative. It barely is even neutral. It's almost a positive, because you got to have something to die. So to start the decomposition, and that's food for other things, and it's almost a positive. But it really hits me when I'm out deep in the mountains like that or out on the ocean that, if storm can come and you can be begging, please let me live. Please, please stop snowing so hard. Please let the waves die down. Come on, please. I want to live. I got so much to live for. And the ocean and the mountains, if they had a face and you were asking them, please let me live, your pleas would be met with the cold black eyes of a lizard. And that's my wild blizzard story, so I'm going to cut it up there. I love you all. See you next time on True Crime Loser. Why, Steven, why, Schmader.